Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Build Your Best Life. I am excited to have you here with us today because we are going to have an exciting topic. I cannot wait. Good evening, Elder. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Good evening.
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me again. It's great. It's always good to be here, and it's great to be back. And I'm super excited to be with you tonight.
Wonderful. Well, we are always trying to bring something relevant that we think that you will enjoy and appreciate getting information on. So today's topic is really exciting. I cannot wait for us to delve into it. But I do want to thank all of you for, excuse me, taking the time to pray for us here at Build Your Best Life. Also for liking, commenting, and sharing. Because if you were not here, there would not be a Build Your Best Life. So thank you so very much. And I see we have Miss Curly on. Hello, Deacon Holmes. Thank y'all for tuning in. Well, some things in life change with the times. However, others don't change or are just as relevant today as they were 7 years ago. Many believe that young adults are lax as far as accountability, timeliness, and other situations that may be essential and critical to older adults. We are here today to set the record straight because that's what you think, but is that really how it is? We're going to delve into that, but first we want Elder Terrell to introduce himself. I know he's been here before, but introduce himself and let us know what he loves to do.
Yes, ma'am. So, James Terrell. I am 27 years old, so I am a Gen Z. I was born in 1997. So I'm right at that first year of the Gen Z age. But I'm James Terrell. I am a husband to my amazing wife, Sierra. I'm a father to our two boys, James and Josiah. I serve at my church as the co-leader, along with my wife, of our young adult ministry there. And then also, in terms of my career, I am a program sergeant with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And so there I'm able to bring programs and bring different classes and resources to the inmates who are incarcerated there with the hopes of reducing recidivism and hopefully giving them skills and opportunities that'll keep them out of jail and kind of just give them the opportunity for them to live their best life and build their best life. And so just a little bit about myself. And in terms of things I enjoy, I really just enjoy spending time with family. That's really big for me. Spending time with my wife, spending time with my children, with my extended family. Um, that's 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 it. And watching the Jaguars play when we're doing good.
Hey, got some new players at the top, so hopefully they're gonna be ready this year.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. Hi, Agnes. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to see you here. Um, well, now just listening to you talking about people and their thought process where it comes to even back to millennials and Gen X, but especially Gen Z, we hear a lot of negative talk.
Right.
But I have had the opportunity to work with several young adults and Gen Z. And so my perspective may not be the same, but we want to kind of clear up some things today. We're just listening to you. You know, people can say, hey, wait a minute now. He's accountable. He's a leader. He's a lot of different things. He's a family man. Hey. So,
Right.
you know, everything that comes out of someone's mouth is not the truth or the facts. Some things are just myths. Sometimes
Right.
people hear other people say things and then they run with it. You know,
Right.
they don't try to find out if it's true. They just run with it.
Yeah.
But I know you personally, so I can state that I know that you are accountable, you're trustworthy, and you are credible. So I can back you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you know, based on the average young adult, is the Gen Z, Generation Z, accountable and carefree?
So I think, like you said, there is this negative perception of Gen Z. And for me, I do think a lot of it is myth, myth based. Now, there are some truths to it, but I think sometimes we can focus on a percentage of a population and try to use that to label, a generation as a whole. And so I think there is this negative perception that Gen Zs are carefree, that Gen Zs are not accountable. And as for me, as an individual who is a Gen Z, I want to disagree with that statement. I believe that Gen Zs, are not carefree. I believe that Gen Zs are accountable. And to me, Gen Zs are honestly one of the most intentional generations, I believe. I think sometimes it could be perceived differently because I think sometimes how we, may go about things may be different than earlier generations. And so sometimes it can have this negative perception, especially if we doing things differently than how generations before may have done it. But there's data out there that shows that Gen Zs are intentional because Gen Zs are more likely than other generations to graduate high school. That Gen Zs are more likely to go to college. And to me, looking at what the data shows and about our generation, that doesn't show me that we're less accountable. That doesn't show me that we're carefree. That shows me that we are a more dedicated and a more intentional generation.
Awesome. Sounds about right. Thank you for that information. And for those of you who just joined us, our topic today is Zen Care. Zen Care, because we're trying to clear up some of this information on these myths that we have heard about Generation Z. In 2 Timothy 4 and 12, it states, let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, in purity. In other words, it encourages young people to use their lives to positively influence others, regardless of their age. So, just because someone is young, that doesn't mean that they don't have the same qualities, the same skills,
Right.
the same thought process that others do.
Mm.
So the past several years, there has been like a roller coaster of actions and emotions. Now, does Generation Z care about understanding the economy and the politics and whether voting is critical or not?
I think so. I think so, and I think contrary to popular belief, we do care about it. Um, and and I say we have the benefit of social media, because we're able to be a lot more informed and educated about these things, probably than other generations were able to. Because we have access to so much information. So to me, Gen Zs, we are really, really a an educated generation, because of the access of social media. Social media isn't all bad. I know we kind of had sometimes have this negative perception, but there's a lot of good that came from it for a lot of people to gain information about things that they probably would not have access to. And kind of was doing some research preparing for tonight, and even as I thought on it, while other generations may have taken up more social issues, it is argued that Gen Zers are more socially minded.
Mm.
And honestly, if we take the time and look on social media, we'll see that. We'll see a lot of young people who are engaged in the political climate today, who are engaged in what's going on in our country, who are engaged about certain laws, and who are informed about it. A lot of young people who are well informed about politics and about the economy. When there are some who are not, and that's just not Gen Z. There's some millennials, there's some Gen Xers who are not informed. But I do believe that this generation is a lot more educated about these things, and even I believe for my generation, and especially those around my age, there are certain social issues that we really do focus on. So you'll see Gen Zers focusing on things like mental health issues. That's a big one
It's big.
that that are talked about now, and young people are informing themselves about that, about higher education, about economic security and civic engagement, racial equity, and even the environment. These things are being talked about not amongst older people, but also amongst Gen Zers. And I believe that my generation is definitely informed and definitely engaged in government, probably more than what may be perceived.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree. And I know you threw out some little generations, but even down to the baby boomers. I
Right.
mean, because you know, a lot of people, we vote. Uh, we may vote by the uh, party that we are associated with. Do we
Right.
take the time to research a person?
Mm.
You get that person in office and then they're doing certain things and they say, well, yeah, didn't you hear, years ago they blah, blah. Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Right.
But, being out there on social media, and that was one of the things I was going to ask you about before you vote, do you get out of there and research? Because now my son Christopher, he's not a Gen Z. He was born in '92. So what is he?
Millennial.
A Y millennial?
Millennial. Yep. Millennial.
And talking to him about voting, he's like, "Well, bless you. We go out and him and his wife, and they research and they look at different things and they do this and do that." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
So, that's important because, right now, like I said, the world is like a roller coaster and some things are going on. So we don't only need to get out in numbers, but we need to know what it is that we need to know before we go out there and voting. So that's
Right. And I even kind of add to that. And I think that's one of the benefits of the generation. Because I do think generations past, we kind of just voted strictly, based upon, hey, well, this is what I grew up
Mhm.
voting on. This is what my parents did. This is what I was taught. But this is a generation now who is really fighting to be informed, who's looking to be informed and doing the research, and who are a lot more open, just to various concepts and ideas that are that are pushing, informing them, as it relates to their politics, political views, or just views on different social issues. And so, yeah.
Very good. All right, thank you. I see Dan and Salandra have joined us. Thank you for tuning in. We have a great topic today. And for those of you who are on, it'd be wonderful if you could share with someone, because this is a great topic. I have been waiting for this one. I love it. There are some ethics that I believe that are handled differently by generations. But as a whole, there are individuals from every generation that have good or poor overall ethics. It's not just the age thing. So, do you think people understand the younger generations, or do they misunderstand them, and just because they don't understand Generation Z, Generation Y, they just give you a bad reputation?
Yeah, I think there's a big misunderstanding. Um, Now, do I, like I said earlier, do I think this generation is without fault? I'm not. I won't say that. Right. I think there are a lot of things that we can work on. I think there are some negative trends that we are engaging in. But I don't think Gen Z is as helpless or as lost as people may make it out to be. Um, Listen, truth is, Gen Z, we're young. It is those who were born between 97 and 2012, right? This is a young generation, right? Young generation, not even in our 30s yet. Like the Gen Z generation has not even reached their 30s yet. So this is your young generation who is learning, right? Who is growing. And truth be told, each of us and all of our generations, we all make mistakes, right? We all have done things. We all, and the generation before us and two before us, looked at you all like, what are y'all doing? There are certain things, certain trends, certain behavior, certain ways that you did things that your parents and grandparents didn't do. And so I think it's the same now, that it is just a generation who are doing things differently, who has a different perspective, a different outlook. And I think that creates the misinterpretation of this, what this generation is and what our generation represents. And so understanding that mistakes are going to happen, that we're going to build, that we're going to grow, and we're going to do things differently than what generations before us did it. And I think once if we kind of understand that, hopefully we can kind of lessen or kind of hopefully shift some of this negative perception that our generation have. Because while we may be different and while we may be young, does not mean that we're lost or helpless or that the world is going down this negative path. I really think the world is going down a bright path with what Gen Z has to offer and with the drive and those things about Gen Z that we're seeing.
All right. And, as we stated before, uh, people were raised differently, and there is no generation that everybody's good, everybody's bad. And you know me, I'll speak out, I'll speak out. But just watching you and your wife and the work that you're doing with the young adults is
Right.
just tremendous, and it goes to show that every age has some good values. I mean, you've taken a generation or a group of individuals that have been sitting in the pews. And you have to tell us the little term y'all have now, but they've been sitting in the pews. But now under your leadership, you are teaching them, hey, you got to get up and you got to do some things, because that generation that's two or three behind you, they're kind of moving out of the way. You can't leave that gap, an empty gap,
Right.
So it's just your ethics, your skills, your ability, working together, like I said, with your wife is just. I just want to give you kudos.
Thank you.
You're doing an excellent job. I love it.
Thank you so much. And I do think it's important that the Gen Zs and millennials understand that we are the generation now who has to take ownership of some of these things, not just in the church, but also just in the world, in the workplace, in different areas. That we are the generation now who are beginning now to take ownership of some of these things, because two generations behind before us, they're starting to retire, they're starting to sit down, they're starting to settle, and now it's our turn to take ownership. And so we've been spending years, of course, growing and building, especially those at the beginning of that Gen Z, like my age, reaching the 30s. Now we kind of past, that education time period. Now we're at the moment now where we are, thank you, where we are now beginning to get settled in our workforce and build homes and build our families. And so I think it's important that we understand it's our time to take ownership, but I also think it's important that we understand that we can't do it by ourselves, that we need the generation before us to show us. And though they may do things differently, does not mean, even for us, we have to understand that you're doing things wrong, that there are things that we have to learn from you all to help us, maximize where we are and what we're trying to do.
All right. Yeah, working together, we can get it done.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, Jocelyn. How are you? All right. Well, that really fast. um, give our audience the attributes of Generation Z and explain why your actions contribute to the success as you work to build your best life.
Yes, ma'am. So we talk about Gen Z. There's a couple things, a couple attributes that really stand out to me. One of those things is I believe that this generation is really big on authenticity. So one thing you'll hear a lot is that Gen Zers are, they're we're who we are, right? We're being ourselves, right? We're being real, things of that nature. And so there's this level of authenticity, and I think that's important, because what it allows is for individuals to bring who they are to the world. Bring their unique gifts, to the world, bring their unique gifts to the workplace, bring their unique gifts to the church. When you're your authentic self, it allows you to discover who you are, who God has made you to be. Um, Also, another um, trait I would say definitely is I saw that even authenticity is a very inclusive generation.
Mm,
Um, the generation is real big on being inclusive, real big on being open and welcoming people of different views and perspectives and different things like that. And while that may be viewed negatively by some groups of people, I do think it's a positive, because one of the biggest things that God has given us in this world are relationships. And
mhm,
when you are an inclusive person, it allows you to be open, to be used, and for God to connect you to more relationships. And so this is a generation who is very inclusive, um, of people, and it opens them up to build more relationships, to build more connections, and to reach more people, and to
mhm.
help more people. When you are inclusive, you're able to help more. You're able to be more intentional about what you do and about who you help. I said it earlier. Another thing too is that we're very focused on like causes, especially like mental health. I think that's really important, because before we would see how mental health was such a taboo subject in some places, and it was never able to honestly be dealt with in an intentional way.
All right.
But with Gen Zers being so focused on it and so open about it, it allows it now to be focused on in such an intentional way, to now where we can begin to kind of deal with some of those issues that we may be facing, that we may see, um, which now could hopefully begin to kind of help the mental health crisis that we see. This I work at a jail, and whether we want to deny it or not, there is a mental health crisis going on. There are so many people who deal with it, who deal with various forms from small to big, of mental health. And I think it's important that we do talk about it, that we do address it, so that it can be helped. And a couple more attributes. We are very much a collaborative generation. where we, are connecting with other people. But while people, of course, are trying to build their brand, I do see people desiring to work with each other. Gen Z desiring to work with each other to build brands, to grow projects and things of that nature. Um, and one last thing I'll end with is that this generation is very much, take risk, take risk, and while that could be bad, it also can be really good. Because this is a generation who, if you take risk, then you're able to open yourself up for different possibilities. That you're not passive, you're not scared, but you're able to take risk and go after what it is that you see as your dream, as your purpose, as what God is calling you to do and to be.
Okay, those are very, very good. So if you weren't taking notes, authenticity, inclusiveness, focus on causes, being collaborative, and taking risk.
Mhm.
And I know we're not delving in on mental health, but like you said, that is something that's really, really huge. And I was working on our broadcast for Second Saturday today and was doing some research, and it stated that for our young males, and it might have been females as well, but ages 18 through 25 is where the mental health peaks.
Mm.
So you have any like idea or thoughts on within that age why it's so prevalent?
I think just the pressures of life. I think at that age, number one, at that age you are maturing. Um, you're in a place where you're maturing a lot between that age, and so you're kind of just finished high school, and you're at that place where you're trying to figure out what's next, and that comes with a lot of pressure. Trying to
Mhm.
figure out what's next, trying to figure out what your purpose is, trying to figure out career and family, and that comes with a lot of pressure. And I think if we're not careful, we can allow that pressure to weigh a lot on our mental health, which is why I'm of course I'm no professional by far, but if I had to guess, I could guess, that's why we see a peak at that age because of the pressures that we're dealing with. At that age, we're trying to figure out where we are, how we make all these things work. We want to be super successful super early because we see the few percent on social media who are living this successful life, and then we look at us building, and we allow that to negatively affect us. And so I think, just at that age group, there's so much going on and so much pressure that life and that we ourselves and social media put on us, which is kind of why we could see some of that happen.
Yes. Yeah, but that's that is definitely an area that we really need to focus on all the people that are more so giving the care and trying to support. And especially our young men, but it's for all of our young people. But that's one area that we need to really focus on because it doesn't seem to be getting any better.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. And one other question that I would like to ask you, as far as financial literacy, I don't think they teach a lot of stuff in school anymore. So how does Gen Z do as far as financial literacy?
So of course, I stated before, I think the generation is a building generation. Of course, I did some research before I got on, and studies have shown that Gen Zs are um, financially unstable. They're not as financially strong as other generations, and I didn't necessarily dive into it.
Mhm.
I think that can be attributed to a couple reasons. Number one, it's not being taught in schools. Um, Number two, we're seeing negative examples on social media, and so we're not. She's been doing a good job of managing our money because we want to fit in and look like we have stuff, while we're still building. And also, I think, I mean, we're young and we're still building, and so sometimes, we're still learning what all of that looks like. But I know, and of course, there's only a percentage. There are some who are exceptional with their money,
Right.
but I do think a higher percentage of us in this generation, um, you know, are still learning and figuring that out. Also, just due to some of the pressures that we see because of social media and other people and this lifestyle that we're trying to that we sometimes try to live.
Okay. I just thought about that.
Yeah.
So thank everybody that's on. And if you have a question for Elder James, you can put it in the chat and you can ask him. Want to know if you have anything, closing thoughts about anything or whatever comment you would like to make. This has been great. I like it. We can actually do a part 2 of this.
Yes, yeah, I would love to. Closing thoughts would just be um, just for I mean, if we have any other Gen Zs or even those outside of our generation, just understand and just have hope that Gen Z is not as lost or helpless as we may think. I honestly believe that our generation has much potential. But of course, I think we need to be guided. We need to be guided, and so for Gen Zers, we have to be open to understanding that the other generations may have some things that can help us get to where we're trying to go. But also for the older generations, understand that Gen Zs see things differently. That Gen Zs may want to do things differently than how you did it. And so while you are guiding us and leading us, please understand, you know, and understand that while we may see things differently, um, that there are things that you can still offer us, and also just be patient. This generation sometimes can, uh, you know, or can be now a lot more direct, about how they may feel. They may ask the questions, the why, and that's not to be disrespectful, but it's simply to gain insight, to gain understanding, because this is a generation now that doesn't do things just because you say to do it. They have to, and I'm saying we have um, to understand what we're doing while we're doing. We won't understand it. We're not going to do it just because you said, "Hey, I do this." No, why are you doing that? Why will this work for me? How can I apply this to my life? And so um, just be open, to both generations. Be open to the older generation, and the older generation be open to us, and be patient. But I do think the older generation is necessary for the younger generation to be all it's supposed to be.
All right. And you heard it from Elder James Terrell. And I thank you so much. And, this topic that we had tonight, I think is something that needs to be had. And I hope that you all will share it because more people need to hear this. This is a generation, like I said, I have observed, and I know Elder James, since he was not Elder James, he was Little James. So, I've seen him grow, mature. And like I said, he has all to me, good. He's trustworthy, credible, all these good things. And so we need to work together,
Right.
Like each generation, the millennials, Gen Y, Gen Z, they can glean from the baby boomers. Yes, we need to get out of the way, but not before we leave those basic principles and assist where we can assist.
Yes.
But I want to see the generation that when they look in the mirror, they're the future. It's not the future. It's not down the road. It's now. It's
Right.
now that you are our leaders, and
Yes.
we need you to step into it.
Yes.
So this has been great.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I will get you back on so we can do a part 2.
Okay. Let me know when.
All right. And thank everyone for tuning in today. And I see Sierra was on, and else I bless you. I forgot. Okay, there's someone else. Maddie Black. Okay, she has a comment out here.
My auntie.
Okay, hey auntie. Says, can you read that, James? It's a tiny,
Yes. It
tiny
says,
thing.
Yep. What would you say to the young people, boys and girls, teenagers, about life in general to be successful in their Christian life as well as professional life? That's really good. See, I would say, just in general, if you're going to be successful in your Christian walk and also your professional walk, um, number one, I think you got to be committed, right? You got to be committed. It starts with a commitment. That success, honestly, is not achieved on accident. It's not achieved on accident. That if you're going to be successful, you have to be committed. And just be mindful of the decisions that you make. Be mindful, and this goes for your Christian life and your professional life. But be mindful of the connections that you have, um, because negative connections in your Christian walk and your professional walk could have negative consequences. So surround yourself with the right people, and also make the right decisions. Listen, you're going to make mistakes, so don't allow your mistakes to beat you up. Don't allow your mistakes to paralyze you. But be mindful of what you do. Be mindful and understand that your choices have power and your relationships have power. And as you are walking out the process, just be open. Be open, because sometimes success doesn't look like what we initially planned. Because you can plan something, and if you're so stuck in what you originally planned, then you're going to miss out on success. Because success ultimately, evolves as you evolve, or excuse me, your purpose evolves as you evolve, and so success changes from what you originally thought, at the beginning of your journey. Then as you walk it out, what success is and what success looks like for you will evolve and will change.
Awesome. Thank you for that question, Maddie.
Yes.
And I was glad to see we have Selena Gibbons on, and she says that they are starting to teach financial literacy. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Really good. Really good.
That is good, because there's nothing like going to
Really.
it's about saving and not just wasting money and having emergency funds and all of that. But I feel so bad when I go to a place to pay, and you pay with cash, and you give them a penny, or like if it's $5.11, and you give them a dime and a penny, and it's like they just lose it. They don't know what to do. They always end up most times giving you back too much change.
Oh, wow.
And they'll give you the 11 cents back. So
Mhm.
that's great. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Thank you all again so much for getting on here. And please subscribe and come back and visit. I know some of you are here because James is here, but come on by and visit Deborah sometimes. I appreciate it. Okay, so we'll on Thursday for Let's Talk About It. My guest is going to be Tanya Ferguson. And our topic is what motivates you to work hard. So I am looking forward for that topic as well. We will be discussing that Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 Central Time.
Awesome.
So if you can, please join us. And again, I appreciate you all for getting on. And James, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I know when you're free and I ask, you're here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I always appreciate you having me on. It's always a great time, and it's even challenging for me. So, hey, I appreciate it.
Great. So thank you so much. And everybody, please remember that building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan, it's our commitment. I love you. Be blessed, stay safe, and I hope you will join us again here at Build Your Best Life. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.